Hi guys, it's Lucy and today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up. In the month of April, I read 4 books. My videos are probably going to be kind of sporadic right now because finals are coming and I really shouldn't even be filming this. So yeah, but just heads up. And yeah, I'm just going to talk about some books that I read in April in chronological order as I usually do. First book is 1984 by George Orwell. This was actually a reread for me. I originally read this in 8th grade, and when I read it in 8th grade, I gave it 4 stars. I really loved it. I want to say this was the first dystopian book I read, but it might have been The Hunger Games. I can't remember, because one made me want to read the other. I think I read The Hunger Games, and then my sister was like, you should read 1984, because like this is the first dystopian. I think that's the order it happened, so this was probably the second dystopian book I've ever read. So yeah, this was the height of my dystopian phase in life. And I really loved it, and now it's been many years. It's been 7 years since I read that book, so I want to see how my thoughts might have changed with it, and also the state of, you know, the world and our country now that I'm saying we're going to be a dystopian novel right this second, but I mean, it's coming, we all know. On this reread, I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, so I actually lowered it half a star because while I do feel like I could appreciate it more than I could at the age of 13, I also noticed more flaws now that my reading tastes have changed and like just my worldview has expanded and changed. So while this book does have a lot going on and gives you a lot to think about, I actually have like a ton of sticky tabs in it. I have it at home though, so I can't show you. Maybe I'll show you in a future video. So there's a lot of tabs in there, which I think shows how much I enjoy it. But as I said, I did have a few issues. One of the most glaring flaws being the characterization or lack thereof of the women involved in the story of this book. The way they were used was very lackluster, to say the least. Also, other things that were lackluster, the writing is very plain. Winston as a character was also very plain. Winston's the main character. And both of those things combined and just being in these plain people's heads kind of made me not want to read it, which is a far cry from when I was in middle school and loving it. So yeah, those things combined were what took off the half star from the original 4 star. Yeah, but I still really think it's an important read. I also did enjoy, in this book, Orwell introduces this idea of newspeak, which is kind of changing language and how language really shapes the way we think. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was very interesting, and I like when books incorporate language like that. On a less serious note, the next book I read was Is Everybody Hanging Out Without Me by Mindy Kaling. I gave this book 4 stars, and I ended up actually listening to this on audiobook, and it was narrated by Mindy Kaling. I really enjoyed this, and it was just a lot of fun to read. This is Mindy Kaling's memoir, and she just tells us various anecdotes and stories from her life, starting from early childhood to when she, in the middle of her writing on The Office, I think. I went into this book with very little knowledge of Mindy Kaling. I've never seen The Office, and I still don't plan to, even though I did enjoy this book. I might catch a couple of episodes of the Mindy Project, probably not still, but I did enjoy this. I enjoyed her sense of humor. Like, this wasn't life-changing or anything, but it was a fun read. If you are a fan of Mindy Kaling or comedic memoirs, then I would recommend this. The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh. This is the sequel to The Wrath and the Dawn, and this duology takes place in a fantasy setting where there is a king in this city who takes a wife every day, and then by the next day the wife is dead and he has to take another wife, and the cycle completes, and obviously the whole city is not happy about this because their women are being killed by their king. And the first book follows Shahrazad, who volunteers to be the king's next wife after her best friend was a previous wife and she was killed. And she plans to become his next wife and then kill the king somehow. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what happens in the second book because, you know, spoilers. But I did enjoy this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was a good continuation. I felt satisfied by the ending. I did think the ending was a little convenient, as I've been feeling a lot. I feel like the endings just keep getting convenient. I need to read like some kind of thriller or something because I need some kind of plot twist or something. But anyway, as I said, this was an enjoyable read. I found no major faults in it. I will say that the magic system in this series is pretty vague. I expected to learn more about it in this book, but we really didn't. We learned a little bit, but not enough to satisfy me. And I also found the use of the magic in this book to be very convenient, once again. But I didn't mind so much. It kept the story going, so that's all that matters. I did enjoy some of the characters we were introduced to, and characters that we got to know more, such as Shazi's sister. I really liked her. In the first book, I kind of had a problem with Khalid and Shazi's relationship. Not a problem, but I didn't find it super believable. And this book, it wasn't solved, but it bothered me less. But yeah, I enjoyed it. As I said, if you read the first one, not sure if you should read this one. I think you should read it just for closure. The writing is still the lyrical, magical kind of writing from the first book. So if you enjoyed that part, I would once again recommend it. And I would recommend the whole series if you are looking for an angsty romance with like a side of fantasy and magic. The last book I read in the month of April was Graceling by Kristin, Cashore. This month has been kind of fantasy heavy. I mean, technically half the books I read were fantasy, but that's a lot for me. I feel like it's been a while since I read a fantasy book. Anyway, Graceling is set in a fantasy world where certain people are graced with extreme skill in some things. So someone could be graced with cooking, and then like they are gonna be like the best chef. Some people could be graced with fighting, and then like they're gonna have a great career in the military. And we follow one such girl, Katsa, who is graced with killing. She lives at the court of one of the kingdoms in this fantasy world, and she's kind of the heavy hitter, I don't know what that's called, for the king. And we follow her and her story and her life. I actually listened to the audiobook, which was narrated by full cast audio, specifically David Baker, Chelsea Mixon, and Zachary Exton. I actually really enjoyed the audiobook. I'm not sure if I would have liked this book as much as I did if I hadn't listened to the audiobook, because it's basically narrated by a full cast. Not exactly, but one person did was the narrator and like did all the not dialogue, and then there were different voices for the actual dialogue and the characters, and it made it so enjoyable. And there was like background music. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it. So if you're looking to read this, I do recommend the audiobook. But for the story overall, Katsa as a main character grew on me. At first she was kind of annoying, and she's very oblivious to things, and she's kind of, I don't want to say stereotypical strong woman character, but she's kind of the stereotypical strong woman character who don't need no man, especially at the beginning, and like who's oblivious when she finds out that like someone might have liked her, and that was kind of annoying at first. But she does kind of, not change, but I think the story kind of turns it on her head, especially in regards to marriage and things like that. Katsa's love interest, Poe, I loved him as a character and as her love interest. I thought the main plot line, which kind of takes a little bit to get started, I found to be a little bit weird and contrived. Like, that seems like it just was kind of a strange plot line that I definitely didn't expect, but it was still interesting nonetheless, and it kept me reading. And I was satisfied by the ending. This is actually a companion trilogy, so there are 2 books, and I kind of want to read the 3rd book, which, according to the title, follows a character we meet in the 1st book. And I'm interested about her character, but the next book is called Fire, I want to say, and I'm not so sure about it because, as far as I know, we haven't met that character, and I'm not sure I care enough to learn about her. For this one, I really enjoyed it. If I do read the next books in the series, those will probably also be on audiobook because I really enjoyed listening to this. So those are all the books I read in the month of April. I'm kind of in, I don't want to say a reading slump because I don't really believe in those, but I'm kind of in a mood where I don't want to read. I feel like a reading slump is you want to read, you just can't, and I'm in a I don't feel like picking up a book mood right now, so I don't know how May is gonna go. I'm also, as I said in the beginning, finals are coming really soon, and I really have to study, and I should be studying right now. I have a lot of work to do that I'm not doing, but those are the books that I read in the month of April. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. In the comments down below, let me know your favorite book that you read in the month of April, and if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel because I make more videos where I talk about books. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye! It's been 6 years, right? 7 years. Shit. Yeah, I was in high school and loving it. Not high school, middle school. Shit. The sun is changing and so is the lighting. This is the sequel to The Wrath and the Dawn, and this duology takes, oh my god.